Hey everyone, I'm Army Gaming. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Monster Analysis. Up for analysis today is Wildcat. Wildcat loves exploring new worlds with his friends, but most of all, he loves driving cars off cliffs. He's a particular creature, this Wildcat. So here we have this tiny little guy with a big head, here we have him a teenager, and whoa, he is swole. Yes, this monster is based off a YouTuber. Now let's analyze his stats. Wildcat has a power of 3,465, and currently in the game there are 19 Earth Legendary monsters, and this puts him in 8th place. And although he is in 8th place and you might be thinking, wow, that's pretty bad, his power is actually pretty high, and for those of you that use General Tomb a lot, Wildcat's base power is higher than General Tomb's. His life is 33,477, and that is really impressive. This makes him the Earth monster with the 4th highest life, and in fact, out of the whole entire game, he has the 7th highest life, so that's counting all plus 170 legendary monsters. Pretty darn impressive there, Wildcat. Unfortunately, with great life comes a bad speed. 3,113, this is really bad. For Earth legendary monsters, this puts him in 15th place. So as you can already tell, he's a tanky monster, he's an attacker. Fortunately for Wildcat, his trait is hardened. All status effects have a 20% less accuracy against it. Now in my opinion, although this is a good trait, especially when you're going up against monsters that can possess you, freeze you, stun you, all of those negative effects, this is a good trait to have. But considering he is an Earth monster, and lots of Earth monsters have a stun skill, I think it would have been better to just have that 100% immunity to stun. Nonetheless, still a good trait, could have been better, but it is what it is. So let's look at his skills. Wildcat attack, Wildcat rocks, I am Wildcat. Deals very heavy earth damage to all enemies, drains 25% of the attacker's maximum life. What? Drains 25% of the attacker's maximum life. I'm pretty sure that is not going to drain your own life. That would make no sense. The damage output on this 65 is not good enough to drain your own life. I think this skill is going to drain 25% of the enemy's life, which in that case is pretty good because you're dealing out a high amount of damage, 65, and then you're taking away 1/4 of their life. And considering earth monsters tend to run life runes, regardless of how many life runes they have, you're taking away 25% of their life. Pretty good special in my opinion, just because of that added bonus. If it was just 65 and earth based, I wouldn't have liked it too much. Oh, also it is an AoE, so that's even better. And in skills group 1 we have Wild Punches, Wild Landslide, Wild Furry. Nothing too special here. Let's move on to skills group 2. Wild Whatever deals heavy special damage, returns 25% of received damage, requires cooldown. This skill deals 55 damage, it costs 31 stamina, it has a 2-turn cooldown, and this skill gives Wildcat damage return. Now I'm not the biggest fan. I don't think 25% is that much. For example, if a monster hits you with 20k damage, you're only going to return 5k damage. So compared to the damage you take, you're really not reflecting a lot. Maybe I'm just spoiled with Oros and General Tomb reflecting 100% of damage, but nonetheless reflecting some damage is still better than reflecting no damage. And also one great thing about this skill is that it is special based. And one problem that lots of earth monsters tend to have is that lots of their really strong skills, they're like 65, 60 damage skills, they tend to be earth based. So the fact that we have a 55 special base skill is going to be perfect, especially when going up against another earth monster. With that being said, I should add that one drawback to the damage return: if you have a shield on this monster, the damage return isn't going to work. So just keep that in mind when using this monster. However, Wild Whatever is a skill I would recommend. And here we have what I was talking about, Wild Strike. 65 damage, 28 stamina, that is awesome. And this is actually a really good skill. No cooldown, 65 damage for an attacker. What more could you ask for? You definitely want to run this skill also. Next we have Wild Rage. Deals moderate earth damage to all enemies, requires cooldown. 45 damage, 36 stamina, 3-turn cooldown, it's an AoE. Now I don't really think this skill needs much of an explanation. It's a nice AoE, nice amount of damage. My only gripe with this skill is that it isn't special based, instead it's earth based. So if it ever happens to be your earth monster versus the enemy earth monster, which has happened to me so many times, this skill would basically become useless. Moving on to skills group 3, we have Wild Avalanche. Deals heavy special damage, gains a 30% shield, requires cooldown. 55 damage, 30 stamina, 2-turn cooldown, you get a small shield. Considering you have a nice tanky life, that makes Avalanche a pretty good skill. 55 damage, special based, once again when going up against earth monsters it's going to be perfect. Next is Wild Assault. Deals very heavy earth damage, may stun target, requires cooldown. 65 damage, 31 stamina, 2-turn cooldown, and it stuns. And you see what I was talking about? Both Wild Assault, Wild Strike, 65 damage. I really wish one of them would have been special based. But anyways, going back to Wild Assault, because this skill can stun the enemy monster, you want to run this skill. Anytime an attacker has an immobilizing skill, it is absolutely necessary that you run that skill, because you never know when it can come in handy. Maybe your deny monster failed to deny the enemy. Maybe you're not strong enough to finish off the enemy, so in that case you immobilize them and then finish them off the next turn. It is always a good idea to have an immobilizing skill on your attacker. And for his last skill, Wild Wrath, deals lower damage to all enemies, may daze all targets, requires cooldown. It's an AoE, deals 30 damage, costs 35 stamina, has a 3-turn cooldown, it dazes all of the enemy monsters. Now considering Wildcat is an attacker, I really don't see any reason to run Wild Wrath. I guess you could make the argument that by dazing the enemy monster, they're going to have 25% reduced power and 25% reduced accuracy, so then the amount of damage they're going to inflict on Wildcat and the rest of your team is going to be significantly reduced. But at the same time, when you have an attacker, most of the time your attacker can one-hit one enemy monster, and in my opinion, it's better to take out one enemy monster than just like daze everyone or even just blind everyone. So for that reason, I do not recommend Wild Wrath. And so for the skill set, I think this monster is a lot more simple. So now to discuss the recommended skill set for this monster, in my opinion, the best skills to use on Wildcat would be Wild Strike, Wild Whatever, Wild Avalanche, and Wild Assault. As you can see, I didn't pick Wild Rage, I didn't pick the 45 damage AoE. If you really want to run Wild Rage, I would recommend not running Wild Strike. And it may seem weird that I'm recommending you not to run the 65 damage, 28 stamina, 0 cooldown skill, but the reason I wouldn't recommend this skill is because it's a 65 damage skill that's earth based. In a team war, taking out the enemy deny monster is going to be pretty easy, taking out the third enemy monster is going to be pretty easy, but taking out that enemy earth monster, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So even if you had this spammable skill, it's not really going to help you out. Wild Whatever would be more beneficial to you. However, if you're still not convinced and you still want Wild Rage, then in that case don't run Wild Whatever. And as for what runes to run on this monster, like always, it depends where you're at the game, what kind of opponents you're facing. If your opponents have a lot of high level runes, level 7, 8, 9, 10 runes, then you absolutely need to run a high level speed rune on this monster. Otherwise, the enemy monster, specifically the deny monster, would probably go 2 times before Wildcat even gets 1 turn in. And if you do need to run at least 1 speed rune, your options include running 2 strength runes with that speed rune, or running 1 life and 1 strength rune. And the reason for running 1 life rune is because it capitalizes on his tankiness. Or assuming you don't need to worry about speed, in that case you could run 2 strength runes and a life rune. And when you compare Wildcat to the other earth monsters, I would have to say that Wildcat is significantly outclassed. And so in my opinion, Wildcat is decent at best. And with that being said, that is going to conclude my analysis on Wildcat. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. Do you think he's better than decent? Do you think he's amazing? What is going on through your mind? Are you thinking, why is his name Wildcat when he's a pig? Why isn't his name Wild Pig? I don't know. Whatever you're thinking, let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to let me know what monster you want to see analyzed next. With that being said, I hope everyone has a great amazing day or a great amazing night. Remember to dream big and pursue your passions. Scrawny Swole. Scrawny Swole.